Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, and this episode we are, let's see where we are here. This is June 19th, 2013, episode 49. And we are going to go to a Finger Lakes Land Trust Preserve that was just recently dedicated, actually a new portion of a preserve, over in the town of Dryden in the eastern half of Tompkins County, east of Ithaca. And it's it's actually next to the, let's see if I can find it here, next to the Hammond Hill State Forest and Yellow Barn State Forest. In between Slaterville Springs and Dryden, there's a range of hills there. So let's just take a look at this map. This is called the Roy H. Park Preserve, after Roy Park, who was the benefactor of the Park Foundation. So some of the funding, a good chunk, I guess, came from the Park Foundation to purchase the lands in this preserve. We'll zoom in a little bit on the map. Now this map shows us going from the southwest on Irish Settlement Road. It's kind of hard to read, but that road that runs up through there, and is in between, on the right, the Hammond Hill State Forest, and on the left is Yellow Barn State Forest. But there's also the Roy Park Preserve in the lower center of the picture there, and this was an addition, actually extends off the picture to the lower left. But this is an addition to the preserve that was dedicated on May 31st, actually, and we are going to go there to the dedication with the Finger Lakes Land Trust. So I actually have a Finger Lakes Land Trust hat on my head here. I don't know if you can read that. So in any case, it starts off, the Finger Lakes Land Trust, by the way, that is their website. If you want to go look at the Finger Lakes Land Trust, they can always use new members and support. And I'm a member of the Land Trust, of course. And anyway, let's go take a look at the dedication. It's an interesting place, and there's a beautiful boardwalk there. It's going to start off with the executive director of the Land Trust, Andy Zepp, starting off the program. So we'll go back to our map here while I queue up the video.
Years ago, we came out with this concept that simply recognized the fact that when you're sitting in downtown Ithaca, you're surrounded with 50,000 acres of public land extending from Finger Lakes National Forest in the west to Connecticut Hill in the south, onto Shedagin Hollow and here at Hammond Hill. And what we saw was these lands were valuable for habitat, water. The water you see behind me goes straight into it is 6 Mile Creek and goes into the city's drinking water supply. Recreational use, you have 20 miles of ski trails here at Hammond Hill and multi-use trails. The Finger Lakes Trail connects it all, about 80 miles, Roger? Is that right?
83.
83 miles of trail. And despite the fact that we're really, as a region, land rich, what we saw is most of these forest lands were Depression-era farm buyouts, so they were hilltops. And if you go down any valley, Route 79, Route 13, you see this ribbon of development that is separating these areas, which has ecological impacts, but also just a few houses can keep them separate and diminish their value. So we thought, what a great idea. We actually have plenty of room with which to grow, but wouldn't it be great as we grow in the future that beyond our lifetimes, we retain and enhance this wonderful necklace of green. So since then, we've been working with a variety of partners, many of you are here today, to secure lands, both through conservation easements, but here, where we stand, we recognize this was something we had to step up and acquire. This came on the market. Family, the Bernsons, lived in a farmhouse across the road and were moving away. 170-acre parcel, half on this side of Irish Settlement, bordering Hammond Hill, and half on the other side, bordering Yellow Barn. And because of the support of now more than 1,900 Land Trust members, we had the resources available to move quickly to purchase the 170 acres. It's ended up with the boardwalk too being more than $500,000 in a variety of funds, which I'll talk about in a minute, and to secure this critical link where we've now linked more than 7,500 acres of public conservation land. And when we did that, we took a breath. We realized that not only did we want to link it in terms of a conservation corridor, we saw a unique opportunity to make it accessible to the public in a way that's appropriate. So we reached out to folks like George France at Tetra Tech, who I know he doesn't want to be recognized. He's back there somewhere, who came up with this great design. We bit the bullet. This actually started out, Roger Hopkins here, who's a Land Trust volunteer, Cayuga Trails Club leader, Finger Lakes Trail Conference leader. The original concept was we'd go to Lowe's, buy some 2x4s. Roger would just kind of build something across here.
2 weekends.
2 weekends. We wanted a Wednesday. And then this one of the things that makes this place so special is the early settlers were smart. The easiest grade was next to the creek, so you frequently see a road right next to the creek. It leads to all kinds of conflict of erosion, undermining, and beaver. And well, here the beaver have been they do their thing. If you came back here when we bought it, there was actually a 4-acre pond right over there. Well, now they're upstream across the road, and they'll be back. So we had to design this thing for 2 things. One, Roger came back and said, "Are you crazy?" And then we had to say, well, next year there could be 3 feet of water right there, so we have to plan for that. So that got us in the world of engineers, which was a big education. The world of locust.
Should have asked the beaver.
Yeah.
They have an agreement with the beaver? They have no higher than?
We almost all of this is locust, natural rot-resistant wood that was locally harvested, milled in Virgil over by Cortland. Want to recognize our wonderful builders, Mike Ward and Doug Durr, who did a tremendous job and also contributed out of their own pockets to the project. So they just did a fantastic job. And I want to recognize them. I want to talk a bit about what's going on here. Is that across the road, we actually own the land directly across the road, but by prior agreement with the state, we intend to convey that at some point to become part of Yellow Barn State Forest. It is our hope there will be a trail continuing directly from the parking lot heading west. And my own hope is that if just one of a few private landowners agree west of Yellow Barn, that one day we'll be able to walk from here through Yellow Barn, through several parcels that would connect with Cornell lands and on into Ellis Hollow, where the Land Trust has a preserve on Ellis Hollow Creek Road. And I think that'll happen. I'm not sure, is it next year, 5 years, 20 years? But that's the scope of this project. We're in it for the long haul. And this is just one of the links in the Emerald Necklace. As we speak, we just acquired land in Caroline, down off the Finger Lakes Trail on Route 79. We're working in Enfield on the Finger Lakes Trail near Treman, down in Newfield. This is a project that will go on for many, many years. And in this particular case, we couldn't have done it without the commitment of many folks, ranging from individuals, contributors, including lead gifts from Dorothy Park, Tom and Maria Eisner, institutions. There's funding in this project from the city of Ithaca, the town of Dryden, Tompkins County, and in this case, that boardwalk, there's also the Tompkins County Tourism Grant Program supported it. M&T Bank, Cornell, Ford Warner, the New York State Conservation Partnership Program, a joint funding program of the New York State and the Land Trust Alliance. Just a tremendous diversity of funding support, so we really appreciate that. And we couldn't have done it without all of you. I want to reflect for a moment. This boardwalk, the interpretive kiosk behind us, and the overlook you see on the trail are dedicated to the memory of a number of folks who are no longer with us. But we hope that their spirit will live on in these wild lands that are now accessible to the public. Jim, Bill, and Mark Thompson and their sister Ellen Fowler have remembered their brother Ed by dedicating the kiosk in his memory. David Rupert and his family will forever remember Matthew Rupert when they stand at the overlook. It's over my shoulder. And then just 2 weeks ago, the board of the Land Trust chose to memorialize longtime board member and community leader Howard Hartnett, who passed away suddenly, and we want to recognize him by naming this boardwalk and trail Howard's Walk.
Oh.
Now, we're standing today right now on Land Trust property, but those of you who walked here, you came through state forest land on a trail that didn't exist till about 3 weeks ago, I think. And as I mentioned, across the road, that's today Land Trust land. Now we're going to keep everything here, but that's by prior agreement. We're working with our partner DEC, and we see more and more in the Emerald Necklace. We hope that this distinction between state land, town land, land trust land is less important than how it's being managed and how it's being used. So we designed this very much not as this is our preserve, but this is part of an emerging green belt. And I'm delighted that Ken Lynch, DEC's regional director, has been able to join us. He's been a strong advocate all along and a great partner. And I want to introduce Ken for some brief remarks here.
The last time Andy had me here, I think it was probably less than 2 months ago. It was not sunny and 90 degrees. It was windy, 30 degrees, and it was snowing pretty heavily. On the other side of the boardwalk, we were covered in snow. It's quite a change and quite a project. And Andy mentioned it wouldn't have happened without all of us working on this. I can say it wouldn't have happened without Andy either. So. Many of you are aware that every 3 years the state goes through a process of updating our open space plan, and traditionally the open space plan started as identification of potential lands for state acquisition, and we were looking at the big parcels that fit our definition of a state forest land or wildlife management area. But even though we're still looking at big projects, the focus is kind of turned now towards connecting many of those big projects and not connecting not only state land to state land, but state land to municipal trails, county trails, and to urban areas, because it's very nice to have a remote open space area for enjoyment, but if people don't know about it or can't get there, they won't use it. And there's a lot of value of adding these connectors to properties around the connectors, to properties in the urban areas nearby, and to the towns and villages that are part of some of these connector trails. So Andy has been one of our drivers on our open space committee to really look at these connectors, and the Emerald Necklace is a very good example of where we're really focusing on making those connections. And there's no better example than this project. It's really come across very well. We're hoping to make even further connections very soon. And thank you again for the trail you just completed. It was up in the air whether we're going to get this done. It was probably 2 months ago.
No,
when
we wouldn't have told you. It would have gotten done.
And that's okay. But it was 2 months ago when we got together that Andy said, I think we want to do this by the end of May. Here we are. We made it. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for coming out and enjoying.
Great partner in this process has been the county, and we work with the county in many ways, and in fact this property we acquired was singled out in the county comprehensive plan as one of the highest conservation priorities. And following on that, we were actually awarded an acquisition grant from the county's Capital Reserve Fund for open space. And then subsequent to that, we actually received funding from the Tourism Grants Program. So the county's been a key ally. And Martha Robertson, as chair of the county legislature, has been a real advocate for this. But Martha's also, as an individual, just a strong conservation advocate and supporter of the land trust. So I'm delighted to welcome her here.
All right.
Thank you, Andy. It's an honor to be here, truly, and to represent the taxpayers of the county who now have the opportunity to all enjoy this and to know about it first, and then to enjoy these spaces. It's so critical to everything about why we live here, about why we choose this place, that it's really hard to get to and it can often be hard to find a job and all that, but it matters, and all of you here have contributed in ways that make it so we all have a place that we treasure with everything that the Land Trust has done. and it really is a community effort. I'm sure Ken is happy to be here, not talking about hydrilla or dredging. We'll probably have a meeting downtown later on. It is great to partner with the DEC on these projects, and it's really wonderful. And I want to recognize Tom Knipe as director of our tourism program in the county planning department. It's a real pleasure to have the county and the tourism program start to recognize that outdoor recreation is a thing. It's a real thing, and it brings tourists here. It brings people from all over the world. It's that special here, and we've really started to develop procedures and a real focus on outdoor recreation as part of the bed tax program. And Andy mentioned the Capital Reserve Fund. This is something that the planning department set up a number of years ago, where if they had extra money from a grant or from a one-time source, they'd sock it away, and so that when Andy came calling, we had somewhere where we could help out. This is about the future. It's about preserving something that generations from now, I mean, we go to the parks that exist and that were built in the 30s, and we all enjoy those. This is the legacy that you all have helped create today, that generations from now will enjoy. So it's just truly an honor to be here to celebrate it. Thank you.
Another strong partner, not just in this project, but many projects, has been the Town of Dryden, where they are not only a financial supporter of this project, but we've worked together with the town to secure lands and establish a public conservation area on Fall Creek near Niseg, and also a portion of the portion of Mount Pleasant facing Route 366. So we're delighted that Mary Ann Sumner, the supervisor, has joined us, who is another ardent conservationist and a great partner. So I'm delighted you could be here.
Thank you.
Hear you talk about investing for the long term. That's absolutely what this is. In my daily work, I am often frustrated by the short-sightedness of many decision makers, but this is about the long term, maybe forever. And I thank you very much, Andy, and the members, the supporters of the Finger Lakes Land Trust for envisioning this and for bringing the opportunity to Dryden to contribute. This is a real gem in Dryden and in the whole Emerald Trail. Along that line, Dryden has recently embarked on our own open space plan. To the Planning Board, the Conservation Board, and our newly formed Agricultural Advisory Committee are all hard at work on segments of that plan. It's really exciting because we value open space, and we very much value quality of life, and this is what makes Dryden special, and this is how we want to spend our energy. Thank you all for your support, and I can't wait to enjoy the trail. Thanks.
Great. A couple people. First, I would like to call up Stu Schweitzer, our board president, who's going to be one of our ribbon cutters. And if I could ask, there's several other board members to raise your hand. These are the folks: Holly Gregg from Skinny Atlas. I see Chris Prue from Ithaca, and Don Specker is over way in the back there from Ithaca as well. These folks contributed a tremendous amount of time and effort. And if you have questions about the Land Trust, definitely seek them out. And also Land Trust staff. Wherever staff person can raise your hand. These are and there's one person in particular, Chris Olney, our Director of Stewardship. If you could come up and participate in the ribbon cutting as well. Chris and his colleague Jason Gorman, who is unfortunately ill today, couldn't be here, did a tremendous amount of work with, as well as all the volunteers. Many of you are here. Thank you for making this possible. Mike and Doug, where are our builders? Come on up.
All right.
And then, if I could also ask Ethan Winter from the Land Trust Alliance to come up, who's not only a funder for this project through the New York State Conservation Partnership Program, but the Land Trust Alliance is both the national organization of land trusts that really helps us do what we do. Everything from conservation easement defense insurance, or being a voice in Albany and Washington. So they have been a key partner in all this as well. So Ethan, come on up. Okay, are we ready?
This is going to work.
1, 2, 3, cut!
Okay, so that was the dedication on May 31st, a very hot day as it turned out. And if you want to learn more about the Park Preserve, Roy Park Preserve, or other Finger Lakes Land Trust preserves, just go to their website at fllt.org, and you can become a member and help support the protection of the Finger Lakes, and also, I didn't mention myself, the Emerald Necklace, trying to create this interconnected corridor of lands that are open to the public and preserved for wildlife habitat and so forth in the southern Finger Lakes, south of the lakes. So very interesting project. It's been going on already for several years. So every day I like to go for a walk in the park. And I live near Buttermilk Falls State Park, so I like to go out there and walk around. Sometimes I sit and take pictures or just sit there and meditate, and I see things when I meditate, and I take pictures of them sometimes, like flowing water here in Buttermilk Falls, and that's kind of a neat picture. Here's with the rocks have rectangular jointing in them that create fractures, and the rocks fall away in very regular patterns, so that creates some interesting geometry to look at. And the water itself, after it falls maybe down a waterfall into a pool, it's all roiled up, makes some interesting patterns that, if you look at long enough, can really do some interesting things to your mind, I guess. And in fact, I'm going to go to a little video of this particular scene and show you that water. So we'll go right there. Okay, so looking at a pattern like that in the water will definitely do some interesting rippling in your mind, I guess. So I'm going to take a quick trip over to actually to Cayuga County, and this is in what's called the Cher Farm. It's actually a farm owned by the Cayuga Indian Nation, one of the 6 nations of the Iroquois, or Haudenosaunee as they name themselves. And this is a canoe, obviously, that was canoed from Ithaca up to Wells College area, up to Cayuga County, and then brought up to this farm. The part of what they call the 2-row wampum campaign, and it's a well, actually, there was an article in the Ithaca Times earlier in the month about the 2-row, honor the 2-row. You may have seen some things about that. And I'm going to read a little bit from that article. It says, 400 years ago, the 2-row wampum treaty was signed between the Haudenosaunee and European settlers, signed in 1613. It was the first treaty between the native nations of North America and the settlers arriving from across the Atlantic. This year, a statewide educational campaign is underway to commemorate the agreement that formed the basis for all the following treaties between the Native nations and the settling governments in North America. The two-row wampum renewal campaign will be holding events throughout the year to raise awareness of the treaty. We'll go to another image here. This is at the Cayuga Nation picnic, which was held on what's called the Cher Farm. It's the initial foothold of the Cayuga people back in their original territory that was helped by some people from Ithaca College and Wells College, and including some in this picture. And so every year they have a Cayuga Nation picnic, and the Cayuga people are establishing businesses and acquiring more property and so forth in their old territory, which they were kicked out of a couple hundred years ago. Here is a garden on the Cher Farm. There is a guy named Dan Hill, who is the Cayuga Nation representative, who lives on the Cher Farm. It's not a public place you can go visit, but you can during the Cayuga Nation picnic. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. I'll say a couple of other things about the two-row wampum campaign. The two-row wampum belt, on which the treaty was originally recorded in 3 rows of white beads alternating with 2 rows of purple, is still in possession of the Haudenosaunee, while the paper copy is long since disintegrated. Quote, "The agreement is the two vessels will travel side by side down the river of life, not to interfere with each other's ways, customs, religions, and so forth," explained Jake Edwards of the Onondaga Nation Council of Chiefs. We agreed at the time to only take what was needed to survive and make sure there was something left for future generations. So, and just a little bit more about what's going to happen. There are events this year that's going to continue through the summer. The focal point of the campaign will be a symbolic enactment of the treaty at the end of July, when Haudenosaunee and other Native people paddle side by side with allies and supporters down the Hudson River from Albany to New York City. They will depart on July 28th, making cultural and educational stops along the way and arriving in New York on August 9th to participate in the United Nations International Day of the World's Indigenous People. Well, you may have heard that little bell, and that means I'm running out of time here. So I thank you all for joining me this week, and we'll see you again soon on Walk in the Park.